Let's start with something that sounds absolutely terrifying. Fatal Familial Insomnia, or FFI. Imagine not being able to sleep, not for one night, not for a week, but forever, until it kills you. This is an extremely rare genetic disease that affects only about 50 families worldwide. It usually strikes people in their 40s or 50s, and once it begins, there's no cure and no way to stop it. Here's what happens. It starts innocently enough with mild insomnia. You have trouble falling asleep, maybe wake up more during the night, but within months, the insomnia becomes total. Your brain completely loses the ability to sleep. Patients might close their eyes, but they never achieve actual sleep, not even for a second. As the disease progresses, victims experience panic attacks, hallucinations, and rapid weight loss. They become trapped in a nightmarish state between waking and sleeping. Some patients hallucinate so vividly that they act out complex scenarios, completely detached from reality. The cause? A mutated protein called a prion that destroys a specific part of the brain called the thalamus, which controls sleep. The deterioration is relentless. From the first symptoms to death, patients typically survive only 7 to 36 months. And here's the truly haunting part. They're fully conscious and aware as their mind slowly disintegrates from the lack of sleep. No sleeping pills work, no sedatives can force the brain into sleep. The disease is so rare that only about 200 cases have been documented in medical history. But for those families carrying the gene, it's a 50% chance of inheriting this nightmare. Now let's talk about a condition that sounds like something from X-Men, but it's far less cool than it sounds. Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressiva, or FOP. It's often called the Stone Man Syndrome. Imagine your muscles, tendons, and ligaments slowly turning into bone. That's exactly what happens with FOP. It's caused by a genetic mutation that makes your body's repair system go haywire. Any injury, even something as minor as a bump or a vaccine injection, can trigger your soft tissues to transform into solid bone. Here's the heartbreaking reality. Children born with FOP appear completely normal, except for malformed big toes, which is usually the first clue. But by the time they reach their teens, their bodies begin to lock up. An extra skeleton starts forming on top of their normal one. Their joints fuse together, their spine becomes rigid. Eventually, many patients can't move their jaws, can't turn their heads, and become frozen in whatever position their body locked into. And here's the cruel irony. Surgery to remove the extra bone makes things worse. The body interprets the surgery as an injury and produces even more bone in response. It's a condition with no cure, affecting only 1 in 2 million people worldwide, roughly 800 people on the entire planet. Most patients with FOP don't live past their 40s, often dying from complications when the chest cavity becomes so rigid that breathing becomes impossible. It's a progressive prison where your own body becomes your cage. Let me tell you about one of the strangest disease outbreaks in modern history, Kuru, also known as the Laughing Death. This disease was discovered in the 1950s among the Fore people of Papua New Guinea, and its origin is disturbing. Kuru is a prion disease, similar to mad cow disease, but it was spread through a specific cultural practice, funerary cannibalism. When someone died, the Fore people would consume the deceased's body as part of funeral rituals, believing it honored the dead. Women and children ate the brain tissue, which is where prions, those misfolded, infectious proteins, concentrated. The symptoms were bizarre and terrifying. It started with difficulty walking and maintaining balance. Then came the tremors, which gave the disease its name. Kuru means to shake with fear in the Fore language. But the most distinctive symptom was uncontrollable, pathological laughter. Victims would burst into fits of laughter for no reason, unable to stop, even as the disease destroyed their brains. As Kuru progressed, patients lost the ability to stand or eat. The mood swings became severe, swinging from euphoria to deep depression. Within a year of the first symptoms, the disease was always fatal. At its peak in the late 1950s, Kuru was the leading cause of death among Fore women, killing up to 200 people per year in a population of only 8,000. Some villages lost their entire female population. Here's the fascinating part. When the Australian government banned cannibalism in the 1960s, Kuru cases began to decline. But because prions can incubate for decades, sometimes 50 years or more, the last known case of Kuru died as recently as 2009. The study of Kuru actually led to the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1976 and helped us understand other prion diseases like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Imagine being allergic to water. Not just drinking it, but touching it. Showering becomes torture. Rain is your enemy. Even your own tears and sweat cause you pain. This is the reality for people with aquagenic urticaria, one of the rarest conditions on Earth. Only about 250 cases have ever been documented worldwide. When someone with this condition comes into contact with water, regardless of its temperature or purity, their skin erupts in painful, burning hives within minutes. Some describe it as feeling like their skin is on fire or being stabbed with thousands of needles. Scientists still don't fully understand why this happens. One theory suggests that water interacts with a substance in or on the skin to create a toxic compound that triggers the allergic reaction. Another theory proposes that dissolved substances in water are the actual allergens. For sufferers, daily life becomes a careful calculation. Showers must be limited to just a few minutes. Some people can only manage 10 seconds underwater before the pain becomes unbearable. They use baby wipes to clean themselves and avoid rain, humidity, and even heavy sweating from exercise. There's no cure, only management. Antihistamines can help reduce symptoms, and some patients undergo phototherapy treatments with varying success. But imagine the psychological toll, being afraid of one of the most essential substances for life itself. One of the most documented cases is a woman named Alexandra Allen from Utah, who developed the condition as a teenager. She can't swim, can't cry without pain, and had to carefully plan how to give birth to her children, knowing the amniotic fluid and sweat from labor would trigger massive reactions. It's a reminder that sometimes the most common, harmless things in our world can become a source of suffering for those with rare conditions. That sounds like science fiction, but is disturbingly real. Alien Hand Syndrome, or AHS. Imagine your hand has a mind of its own. It moves without your control, performs complex actions, and sometimes actively works against your other hand. You might be buttoning your shirt with your right hand while your left hand unbuttons it. You reach for a drink with one hand while the other slaps it away. This isn't paralysis or random spasms. This is purposeful, goal-oriented movement that you cannot control and did not intend. Your hand becomes an alien entity attached to your body. Alien hand syndrome typically occurs after brain surgery, stroke, or trauma that affects the corpus callosum, the bridge connecting the left and right hemispheres of your brain, or certain areas of the frontal or parietal lobes. Patients describe horrifying experiences. One woman's alien hand tried to choke her while she slept. Another man's hand would grab his wife inappropriately in public. Some patients have to physically restrain their alien hand with their other hand or sit on it to keep it from acting out. The condition reveals something profound about consciousness and free will. Your alien hand isn't random, it's intelligent, it's purposeful, but it's not you. The movements are complex and coordinated, suggesting that consciousness and voluntary control might be more fragmented than we realize. Neurologist Kurt Goldstein first described the syndrome in 1908, but it gained public attention through cases like Dr. Strangelove in the famous film, whose hand seemed to have Nazi sympathies independent of his conscious mind. There's no standard treatment for alien hand syndrome. Some patients learn behavioral techniques, like giving their alien hand an object to hold to keep it occupied, essentially giving it a toy. Some cases improve over time as the brain rewires itself, but others live with this bizarre split between intention and action permanently. So there you have it, 5 diseases that prove reality can be stranger and more terrifying than fiction. From the endless waking nightmare of fatal familial insomnia to bodies that turn to stone, from laughing deaths to water allergies and hands with minds of their own, these conditions remind us how complex and fragile the human body really is. These rare diseases also highlight the incredible work of medical researchers and doctors who dedicate their lives to understanding these conditions. Every case studied brings us closer to potential treatments, and every patient who shares their story helps raise awareness. For those living with these conditions, life requires extraordinary courage. They navigate a world that isn't built for their unique challenges, often feeling isolated because so few people understand what they're experiencing. If you found this video fascinating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more medical mysteries and science content.